Hey Tunanam. Hey Tunanam to everyone. Thank you. Yeah, this is a great opportunity. I really am happy to come share. And this is a pivotal moment for us to put together the cross intersection between traditional ecological knowledge and our climate adaptation endeavors that we are going through today. So the origins that I know about California stories, I know the Mechoopda. We say we have a center of the earth and we were created here. I go to most tribal communities and they have the same concept as we do. We were created here. We did not migrate here. And so when we're looking at this landscape, you'll see native villages and these waterways. We're going to say that waterways are key to tribal occupation, trade, land management, and food security. So our watersheds in California are vital to our survival. So we're going to look at pre-colonial trade routes, because as we look at indigenous communities that lived here prior to colonial contact, we're going to look at one Mississippi to California. So one map, the large map, is pretty much all the trade routes in North America prior to colonial contact that were written into our TEK, traditional ecological knowledge, collectively through tribes. So here is our trading routes before colonial contact from Mississippi in. You can zero in a little bit higher on the other one and see that we have a Northern California trade route. This puts Karuk, Yurok, Hoopa, Wintu, Nomalaki, Washu, Maidu. I mean, you can see that puts us all into a relationship together through trading. But if you look down and you look at that watershed map, then you're looking at how we got along to this trade route. It was all using our waterways, our watershed, distribution of water from the ice caps down to certain areas, especially Sierras, make a unique opportunity for us to travel to each other. And this would also mean that we'd have to pay attention seasonally. Some seasons there's wetter than others, and some seasons it's drier than others. So these weather patterns would also predict and kind of manage how we traded and when we got to trade. And so when we're looking at climate change in California, specifically, we're going to zero in on what we really see here, Northern California, Central California. And now we're looking at extreme wildfires, extreme high temperatures, extreme drought, and extreme flooding. And so this is a good view of Oroville Dam. One picture is Oroville Dam flooding in 2017, and 2021, there's the drought. So there's an extreme illustration right here of the same place within a small span of time. So climate cycles in California. So really important to know the climate cycles that you're seeing and experiencing and always have and always will at this point from this perspective in California, Northern California. So we have two cycles that we look at things. That's the El Nino and the La Nina. So they come in about every 7 to 10 years. Our La Nina years are kind of our drought years, but when we have an El Nino year, we should have some rain. But sometimes El Nino can really be strong, can really put it. And what happens is there's a stall. So when there's a stall going over a lot of moisture over the Pacific, and El Nino every 200 years shows up as the 200-year flood. So we have to put into our TEK knowledge about this landscape that every 200 years it floods. So that it's an atmospheric river that is formed and pulls over. And we've had one in 1605, 1750, 1862. Now, 1862, as we know, is after California made itself a state of the United States. So we all know the famous 1949ers, that's a gold rush. So we had a lot of folks gold mining up in Northern California, right into the watershed, right there when major flood came in 1862. Wiped people out. So many people wiped out, they didn't have a record of it because they didn't even know. Old Town Sacramento was underwater, and there's a black and white picture right here of pretty much the entire valley was under about 8 to 10 feet of water for quite a while. So let's talk about what is disaster mitigation. Knowledge of how to predict a major event, which we kind of talked about, which is TEK kind of consulting. And then we're talking about outcomes, like what is going to happen if this happens. And then what can we do to minimize the damage and recovery time for land and for people? Well, we're going to look at 2021. Our current emergency infrastructure for climate change is really focused on response and protection of property, and depending on an interagency coordination to basically go about climate change disaster with a military style tactic of attack and then contain. And that's probably not the best approach to climate change, because it's a whole different nature of it's a whole different beast. They like to use mitigations like hoarding resources. So that means let's build a reservoir, let's build twin tunnels, let's put all of our resources in a centralized area and just save it for those who just are in that space. Unfortunately, that is not how Mother Nature really lets folks organize her creeks and water. So we're going to look about what tribes do in general. So it's a place-based adaptation and utilization. So we utilize our tribal territories, we utilize our trade routes, and we utilize our partnerships and the differences in the biodiversity of each territory we have. We use strategy and large-scale land management for predictable outcomes of species survival and ecosystem resilience. This is basically setting things up to bounce back quickly after a disruption. And then we have a social economy, and this is based on seed banking, mutual aid, trade, and cooperation. We don't necessarily have that as a predominant social economy, but that is a traditional social economy. And once we have decolonized our approach to our economics today, we will be sliding into social economy very easily. And that's just based on our ecosystem. And so doing that, we will also have community land management regimens, which means we have not just a project where you go and do one piece of land, 1 acre of forestry, and then you don't have to come back for 20 years. There is a continuing management of land, a regime of management. And we call that today workforce development. And so this is large scale labor intensive work based on the knowledge that we have, our TEK knowledge, weather cycles, seasons, long-term climate patterns, and predictable outcomes of keystone species. And so we are working through eco-management and using our human activity and disturbance to create a healthy ecosystem and let it prosper, because we are depending on this for housing, basketry, medicines, and our food sovereignty. So local to Butte County, Chico, Mechoopda territory, we have tribal-led climate adaptation here in California. We have Verbena Fields, 17-acre native restoration interpretive park in Chico, California. We have a TEK certification and training and seed bank. And we have Northern Sierra Nevada, the tribal contracting for fuels management, and we also reintroducing culture and prescribed fire. There's some pictures you have here. There's one picture out here of Verbena Fields every Friday. We have our TEK crew out here. This is us at BLM lands. And then this is us doing cultural burning, or me doing cultural burning. I was the only one who take the picture. But this is us doing this grassland burning during this is Good Fire. So the introduction, the part of this is to teach about the traditional plants, to teach about keystone species, to develop programs, but we also have workforce development. And this is kind of an outline of how we would like to see tribal stewardship programs get accepted and partner up with federal agencies. We have 180,000 acres of federal forestry alone in Butte County. In California, you have 19 million acres, and altogether between state and federal, you have 33 million acres. So we want to do forest certifications. This is Sawyer certification, heavy equipment. Then we want to get into basic 32 red card certification. This is necessary. You have to have your basic 32 red card to burn on federal land. And then you can also get advanced burn boss certificates through CAL FIRE, and that would help us. Now we just had some new legislation. Now we can definitely have a burn boss for cultural burns. And so TEK certifications is also what I've introduced to my tribe as a master TEK practitioner. And pretty much title as a master is just the ability to be able to sign a certificate and say that we've developed this and this is certified through the tribe. This is about cultural keystone species, learning about invasive species, also about cultural fire. And this is all about also secondary products, goods for services that you can get from our ecosystems. And then we have planning and monitoring certifications. This helps out a lot. We would be able to train additional with GSI certification, drone pilot certification, and water management certification, which is really helpful for map readers and people that are getting involved in land restoration. And so here's the crew we first started off with. This was started off in 2019. This is all of us up there at Cali OS headquarters trying to get a contract after the campfire. This is how we all got together and became friends and started ISWI. This is several tribally led and different crews. So you're looking at about maybe four different crews, maybe 5 different crews in that photo, and different tribes from Washoe, Paiute, Pomos. I mean, you've got Northern California mixed up there. And this is how ISWI comes together. ISWI is Intertribal Steward Workforce Initiative. And so this is pretty much not a fiduciary group, but a gathering group, a round table for us to share notes, share boilerplate grant applications, and also look at all the contracts we're working on. And if we need to share equipment and work crews, we are down to collaborate. And so this is really, we did this because we do have Tetra Tech, but we do have a lot of companies coming into our tribal territories, into our sacred lands, and their land management practices do not match up with traditional ecological knowledge. So we're here to kind of meet everybody in the middle. We have some other things out of here. The Butte County Forest Health Handbook. So Butte County Forest Health Handbook is available through the Butte County Conservation Resource District. This is an integration of TEK into the forest, into our traditional lands. These are just some samples out of the Forest Handbook, but I just want to give you a view of that. And so we have a website, tekchico.org. So this is kind of where I'm trying to do all the outreach and get everyone informed on what we're doing, our classes, our workshops. I stay pretty busy. We have certification programs per season. So we'll have spring, fall, summer, and winter. We also are working with Calaveras Healthy Impact Product Solutions, which is called CHIPS. And they are the employee of record that we work with, but we pick up contracts and work. So the folks that have Sawyer contracting, some TEK certifications, we are building contract capacity and building workforce development. We've been up to 15 employees. We're back down to 10, and we're building ourselves back up as we get more contracts. And we're also working with the TREX program for cultural fires here in Butte County. And we have the TEK-based forest stewardship contracting program that is always in the run, always in the mix. Like I said, we're talking about 180,000 acres of federal forest in Butte County alone. We have ISWI, Intertribal Stewardship Initiative. We are putting together a seeds program. We're sharing seeds program between many, many tribes, at least sharing the conversation, maybe sharing some responsibility. We are working on an agreement with the Mendocino Tree Farm. They have greenhouse areas over here in Butte County off of Skyway, and we plan on making an agreement to share that space. That's federal land, and we're a federally recognized tribe, so we're going to work together. And also every single Friday from 10 to 1, we have a group, volunteers that go to Verbena Fields in Mechoopda territory and Chico, California. This is a great opportunity to go out once a week, field day with tribal community, with non-tribal community, and kind of meet up and work. Sometimes we're weaving baskets, sometimes we're gathering willow, sometimes we're trimming up trees, putting down seed. We have objectives to fill, and so we take each season as we go and fill in those objectives as the season demands of us. And so my contact information, this is tekstewardship@gmail.com.